for years I spent a lot of time digging up pots in the Thames and looking at old pots and trying to work out how they were made, how they were fired, and realised that the fuel used for firing the kiln was wood. I kind of looked into that further and spent time studying historical pots, finding more, and then ending up building myself a wood-fired kiln, which is what ultimately I wanted to do. I went to Japan to study wood-firing kilns out there, and previous to that I'd set up an apprenticeship with John Leach, who's a potter in Somerset. It's all very well having an idea about doing something, but you've got to get out there and actually have a go. And with that experience in Japan, and then the experience that I picked up later in Somerset of another 2 years of wood firing, I felt I had the confidence to come here to Bettiscombe and build my own kiln. The kiln that I use is a mixture of Korean and Japanese design. The word for the kiln in Japanese is anagama, which basically means hole in the ground. Traditionally these were literally holes in the ground or holes in the side of the mountain. And then later, with technology of fire brick, people started building them from bricks. It takes me about 3 days to pack all the pots inside the kiln. I guess it's about 170 cubic feet, the chamber. And gradually over 3 days I fill that space entirely. The doorway, or the wicket as it's known, is bricked up and sealed in, and then basically the kiln's ready to fire. And so we start a very small fire outside the kiln and gradually introduce it into the firebox. So it's a very, very gentle fire for the first 12 hours. Probably up to 400 degrees in that time. And then once we see colour in the kiln at about 500 degrees, we're able to push on with the stoking, adding more wood, essentially, more regularly, trying to build up a rhythm. By about 36 hours, which is near on 1300 degrees, 1260 to 1300 degrees. And we then soak for about 8 to 10 hours. And at that stage, we've got indicators inside the spy holes and rings of clay which we can draw out of the kiln to actually see what the glaze is doing. It's then time to stop stoking, let the kiln cool quite quickly down to 800 degrees. Then it's all sealed up and left essentially for about 3 days. Still, after 3 days, it will be 200 or 300 degrees in the chamber, and we just crack the door, let the last of the heat out, and then perhaps the next day we can get the pots out and see what we've got. It's genuinely a slow process, slow pots.